want to welcome everyone back to the Learning Clinic on CKLU 96.7 FM, coming to you from Laurentian University. As I promised, we have three guests in for the second part of the show from Professions North. They're going to explain what Professions North is all about, but I guess in a nutshell, it's an initiative that was brought forth by the Faculty of Management at Laurentian, and it stemmed from an identified need to provide a program that supports the integration of internationally trained professions into the workforce in Northern Ontario. So we have Atef Shubita, who is the acting project manager. We have Maryse Thamby, who is the employment outreach officer in Sudbury, and we have Joël Gauthier, who is the economic development officer. I believe all those titles are right, but if not, you can correct me after. And we're going to start right off with Atef, and Atef, try and give us some kind of an overview of what Professions North is all about.
Well, thank you, Robert. Thank you for this opportunity that giving us to come today and speak about Professions North.
Thank you for coming.
Professions North, as you mentioned, is an initiative for the Faculty of Management of Laurentian University that started in 2010. And it's basically the mandate is to help international trained professionals to get them job ready and to put them back into the Canadian labor force. Professions North in 2010 received funding from Government of Ontario, basically from Ministry of Citizenship and Immigration Ontario, in order to start this project program in the North, because there was a need in Northern Ontario to start this kind of bridging program, as there's no such program in Northern Ontario that works with skilled immigrant. So the program started as focus on those professions, mainly in the accounting and finance, but because the numbers in Northern Ontario was a little bit small, then the program expanded to work with all the professions in Northern Ontario. Again, because of also the number of skilled immigrants is not too large in Northern Ontario, then the program after that expanded its services to work with international trained professionals who lives in the GTA, in the Greater Toronto area, and who are willing to relocate to move up north for the right job opportunities. So that's basically kind of attracting skilled immigrants to come to the north in order to fill the gaps of the workforce shortage in Northern Ontario. Because of Northern Ontario, geographically, it's a very large area. So Professions North, the model of Professions North, how it works is through partnership with other local community organizations. So and early stages of Professions North started a partnership with local community multicultural associations and employment organizations in the main 5 cities in Northern Ontario, basically in Timmins, Sault Ste. Marie, Thunder Bay, North Bay, and in Sudbury as well, because in order these organizations to work as a front-line service providers for Professions North in these cities. We also have been connected with this organization through video conferencing, through Contact North as well. In 2010, Professions North conducted a research in the North, and we identified the need for this kind of programs. The main vision for Professions North, if we could say the vision, is Professions North assist Northern Ontario communities to increasingly integrate internationally trained professionals and to access the tremendous economic benefits of multicultural society in the North. While the mission of PAN's mission is, PAN, through its network of agencies and dedicated staff, develops and provides professionals bridging services and resources to internationally trained professionals. So since 2010, Professions North, in order to develop the services and the tools, started developed several courses in accounting and finance through Laurentian University capacities, and also developed other communication courses through Rice University. So these courses are developed and designed by these two universities, and also still up till now it's supervised and administered by these two universities. So this is basically a quick and brief overview of what is Professions North is doing. We could elaborate more in each of these services.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I know we're probably going to get into some of the topics that Maryse and Joël are going to talk about, but so basically when professionals are coming into Canada, it is true, I think most of them will go to Montreal or Toronto or Ottawa instead of coming up into Northern Ontario. So your main focus then is to help bring people into the north that have skills that are being looked for in Northern Ontario. Is that?
That's one facet, we'll say, of Professions North. the whole attraction. And we started doing this last year in September. Was our first speed networking event in Toronto. Because not all ITPs, and when I say ITPs, we know we'll refer they're internationally trained professionals, but a lot of them don't come from metropolitan cities in their country of origin.
Toronto would be scary then, wouldn't it?
Wow. and every time I take a taxi, a cab in Toronto, I always chit-chat with the cab driver and find out that he's either a brain surgeon or this extremely qualified professional that never knew what steps to take for evaluation and especially accreditation of what his educational background is.
It's really that bad? Like I've heard stories.
If ever I felt ill in Toronto before calling the ambulance, I'd probably ask the cab driver for a diagnosis or some sort.
Wow.
But last year, our first event of that kind, we had approximately 80 ITPs, so internationally trained professionals. We had employers from the north and big companies, small, medium, but mostly we'll say large enterprises.
Almost like a job fair then.
Yes, but we pre-screen. There's a lot of work beforehand that's done. So job fair, you have the great hall, the kiosks and things like that. We pre-screen every candidate, make sure that they're really job ready. So they've gone through a work ready action plan. They've taken steps. We know that they're bilingual. Actually, their benchmark for English language is very up to par. And so it's interviews. Morning session is usually promoting our 5 cities. So as Atef mentioned, we've got Thunder Bay, Timmins, North Bay, Sault Ste. Marie, and Sudbury. So in the morning, we have all the participants in a room. We sensitize them to the reality, different job market realities. We know that Timmins is booming right now with mines, gold mines, gold. Wow. Unfortunately, the realities in Timmins with the vacancy rate and things like that, there's a few obstacles, but Sault Ste. Marie, they're looking for a lot of IT professionals, networking, software development, things like that. Sudbury, and a lot of communities in the north, it's health, education as well. Maybe not Sudbury as much as education, but rural communities around Timmins and all that looking for seeking teachers.
Are these ITTs, right? Are these ITTs, are they being helped by the employment agencies at all? Because there are professional, I guess a term is headhunters, but there's professional agencies, there's a ton of them in Toronto.
Maryse is probably the best one to replace. She works currently from the YMCA office in Sudbury. Yeah, and that's my fault. When I ask questions, I don't know who, but I'm just curious.
Well, with Professions North, we do partner with the agencies in the 5 communities. So here in Sudbury, it's the YMCA, Employment and Newcomer Services. And what we do there when we partner with the agency, the person who's the contact at the YMCA would take on the new clients, would give them intake, and would see what they need in order to get job ready. So they'd help them with their resume, help them with job searching, cover letters. If they needed language requirements, they'd send them to the Link School until they got to our benchmark of being language ready. So they would work with them one-on-one. They're the frontline staff and the representative for us to work one-on-one with the clients here in Sudbury. So they do work with the agencies.
Okay, I'm thinking a lot of the private agencies though that are companies come to look for IT professionals. And
Well, perhaps some of the ITPs would do that, but when they sign up with us with professional, then we would put them with these other non-for-profit agencies.
Okay. It's interesting because I almost imagine myself if I was to go to another country as a professional teacher, you know, career teacher. It just seems as if I would just go into the mix and apply for jobs like everybody else that's in the country, but I guess it's not as easy for internationally trained professionals to come into Canada and get into the job market.
It all depends on the field of expertise. Obviously accounting, anything with finances. An accountant from France wouldn't be able to immediately become an accountant in Canada. The whole fiscal structure is different.
So they have
our tax system and everything else is not the same as it is in France.
They need another education almost.
Well, we help them, Professions North, we help them with evaluation and accreditation. So we don't do it ourselves, but we work with WES, which is World Educational Services, which evaluate their school, their educational background, and then help them with accreditation from that point on. So if they do have to return to university or take some courses, that's when they take that step. And after that, eventually, they're back on track with all the rest of the Canadian citizens.
Is this common in Canada, or is Professions North kind of like pioneers in this whole type of program?
Well, if I can add, there are lots of governmental programs, federal and provincial programs. Bridging programs are funded by the province, and basically it's designed to work with those international professionals who comes with accreditation, with long work experience, and try to help them put them back into their work field, not to do survival jobs.
So they come, they're already ready to go into work then?
Or they've been doing this job for a lot of time back home, but here they need help to be, as what they call it, job ready to enter the Canadian workplace. Where one of the main difficulties they are facing is employers, they don't recognize their credential or their careers or their work experience back home. Right? They want to see, for example, engineers, they have to have, for example, what they call it, an engineering license in order to get back to work as engineers. Right?
It's about 4 years here, right?
Kind of 4 years. It's a longer process they have to go through it. So that's also there is bridging programs that help specific professions, right? In engineers, in nursing, in accounting, in finance, and also there are others. For example, like Professions North, because of the numbers of skilled immigrants again in Northern Ontario is not too large. We do work with all what they call it non-health related professions in Northern Ontario. We have all of those skilled immigrants in non-health related professions. So once they are connected with any of these bridging programs, then the bridging programs serve them like into stages, and once we evaluate and we assess their status at the job ready, then their employment counselor or their counselor, they will start to connect them with employers in their field and look for jobs for them.
What does an outreach officer do, Maryse?
Well, it's about educating the public about Professions North for one thing. We're finding that prior to this, the mandate was slightly different, but now we offer employment. So we have to network a lot with employers as well too. And a lot of employers are unaware of Professions North and what we do in the large client pool that exists to them of eligible employees. So it's a lot about educating and getting out there and outreaching and networking with employers and trying to see what kind of job postings they have that maybe we can help assist them with, that they may have looked for in Sudbury and can't find labor like that in Sudbury, so we can extend that and find employees for them in the Toronto area and elsewhere as well.
Right, because of the connections you've got with the ITTs from down south. Interesting.
Yeah, and the various partners.
Do they ever work with your organization before they come to Canada? Do they contact you before they come to Canada?
Well, no, we work with them once they are in Canada.
Okay.
Professions North, yes. the program financed by the Ministry of Citizenship and Immigration Provincial. We can work with ITPs, like conventional refugees, citizens, so they arrived in Canada 4 years ago and as permanent residents and became citizens. We can help them as well. Permanent residents. Unfortunately, we can't really help those who are here on a temporary work visa or a temporary study visa.
Okay.
Because there are so many, like you mentioned before, Robert, there are so many other programs, and Atef mentioned a lot of government
Right.
programs, and you had mentioned the private sector, the headhunters. They're always there, and then they need help as well with talking about, when we're talking about cultural diversity and maybe they don't have all the experience, but you have to pay for those services. Whereas we're a non-profit organization that offers free online courses and services.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of what Maryse does in terms of letting the employers know that you can find the people to fill their needs is basically what the private employment agencies do as well. It's reaching out to the employers. Is Northern Ontario, I don't know how to put this, are we worse off, or are we about the same as the rest of the country in terms of needing internationally trained professionals? Like there's an awful lot of skilled people that, like you say, are driving cabs. And there are shortages of trained people to fill the needs of the employers. We keep hearing about trades, that there's a huge shortage in trades. I don't know if you cover that, but I mean, doctors, accountants, engineers, like you say, I mean, there's so many. You hear that there's certain places in the country where there's a shortage and they can't find these trained professionals. How are we in Northern Ontario? Are we average? Below, like, is it bad up here? Is it hard?
It's somewhat alarming, I would say.
Alarming, okay, that's a good word. I never could think of the word alarming.
The thing, I think what happened within the last 10 years, the government and the government has instilled this message amongst employers saying it's going to happen, it's coming, that you're going to have a shortage. Watch out, your project managers and your supervisors and your managers are going to be retiring. And I don't think it didn't slap them in the face yet until I think maybe the last few years, where they've realized that our baby boomers are retiring and we need to replace them. And now they're like in, I'm not going to say crisis mode yet, but it's in Ontario is the same. I think we're in the same boat as the rest of the country.
I've heard from the construction industry, because I was working with one local company, and they had been speaking with one of the international companies, and they said that there's a shortage of effective project managers. That there are a lot of project managers, but they're not all up to par with what you need in order to make projects on projects that are have a low profit margin. But they did say that this whole area of management and being able to be a good project manager is huge. And it's like you say, employers have been told for years, there's a shortage coming, nobody's really paid much attention to it. So it is alarming, is it? And there's a lot of people in Toronto that could be brought up to fill the needs.
We saw it last September. We were amazed to see from our surveys the misconception or just the lack of knowledge that other cities exist in Ontario outside of Toronto and Ottawa, let's say, and with these morning presentations that were really enticing and very interactive with videos and all the fast facts of our beautiful, welcoming cities.
People live north of Barrie.
Yeah, they're like, and then we would say we would say Northern Ontario. They're like, oh, Parry Sound. We're like, go a bit more, like.
And we live here. We don't even call ourselves Northern Ontario. It's Northeastern Ontario.
And it's understandable, because looking at the map of Northern Ontario, if you look geographically at the map, Moosonee is Northern Ontario, but they need to know that Northern Ontario, Sudbury's in there, and North Bay, and everything else.
Very interesting. So for a person coming in from from another country, obviously, I guess they're looking for a better life, most of them, than what they had. They had some kind of a profession back in whatever country they came into. Toronto's a great place to land, I guess, because I know that in the school system in Toronto that the people who are not native Canadians it's over 50%.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's so people that don't have English or French as their mother tongue is over 50%. So they are coming there, and I guess there must be some barriers, or there must be some challenges to moving out. One of them is not knowing where the openings are, and there must be an awful lot of people that are really in a lot of despair when they come over here thinking that they can find a better way.
There's a chart, or a grid I should say, of levels of integration for a newcomer. No matter when they first arrive in Canada, either Toronto, could be Sudbury, or Ottawa, or Montreal, it's the honeymoon phase. Even in the dead middle winter, with 6 feet of snow, Canada's beautiful. Everything's nice because you just arrived, and that's human nature, of course. But not too long. For some people, that's a few months. For some, a few weeks. After that, we need to find a job. We need to, put the bread on the table and things like that. And they realize that, it's not that easy, because they have to go through the process of accreditation and getting their diplomas recognized in Canada. So then they fall in that phase of frustration. For some, that can be months. For some, that can be years. For some, that can sometimes never happen. And then eventually hopefully they adapt.
Do many of them go back to their former country? Or is that an option for even a lot of them?
Well, we don't know exactly, but this will be like a very small number of people. Maybe you get frustrated and they can't, handle the situation here, and they decide to go back to their home country. But specifically, they struggle in the beginning. All of them, they struggle in the beginning to settle down as a family, and after that to get their job that they like to do, they want to do, even in Toronto area or any part of the country. The problem with Northern Ontario, I'm not sure how much the cities of Northern Ontario have been targeting this group of talents down in Toronto or in Ottawa. But our experience from two networking events, one in Toronto last year and one in Ottawa also last month, 2 weeks ago, proved that there is a lack of knowledge about Northern Ontario. These people, they don't know about Northern Ontario, about the life and work. That there is job opportunities here. Once we pass this information to them, they start thinking to move to Sudbury, Sudbury, and Sudbury, and they start looking for jobs in these areas as well. From last year, we know that some of them, they were seeking, searching jobs very aggressively in the north, and they end up getting, good jobs in their field in Timmins and Thunder Bay as well.
So now, I know that if you're a professional, an internationally trained professional coming into Toronto, let's say that to look for a better life, you are going to go to all of the organizations that can help you find employment. How is it, and this is, I don't even know if there's an answer to this, but how is it that these organizations that for the most part are public sector organizations are not letting people know about Northern Ontario? Like, we've been doing so much to try to promote the North here, and yet you would think that if there aren't enough openings for these ITPs down in Toronto, that the organizations would be sending them to the North or giving them encouragement. What's happening?
Every region or every municipality has somewhat of a mandate to retain these newcomers, and I think that's one of our issues. That was one of our problems. And this is what Professions North is doing, which is out of the box. And we're not completely putting the whole concept of retention, it goes attraction, integration, and retention. But we're just finding links and then like the GTA to come to Northern Ontario, because if you're not route bound yet in Toronto, if you're not a city person, if you're not, there are possibilities up north. What the city of the GTA, they're very welcoming to this notion as well. So we're breaking barriers now at this point.
Yeah.
Because I always looked at it as, if it doesn't matter where. I know the greater city of Sudbury has the same mandate as to attract, to integrate, and to retain. If there's a job possibility in Sudbury in this person's, in this ITP's field of expertise, I'm sorry, like you know, we're gonna offer that. Yeah, the possibilities are there.
Yeah, because you got to find a place for the person. Like I can remember, like I lived my entire life up in Sudbury here, and I know that they're Inco, what used to be called Inco Valley, and Falconbridge, Extrata now. There were an awful lot of people that came from other countries in the early years when the mine was booming. I can remember when there were 20,000 people working at the mine. They used to hire over 3,000 or 4,000 summer students to work at the mine. I don't even think they have 3,000 students or people working there anymore. But a lot of the people that came over, a lot of the immigrants, were coming over for their children. So that their children could be in a country where they could be born here, raised here, and have all the opportunities that maybe they couldn't get back home. Is that what happens in a lot of cases with the internationally trained professionals too? Do you notice that a lot? It's just that they're not going to one place where they're hiring hundreds of people every week.
No, it is. It is. I've heard it quite a few times.
So these people sometimes would be willing to work in a cab just so their children could get a better life and give up their
Well, this is what most of them they are doing downtown Toronto and in Montreal and in Vancouver.
Not that working in a cab is not.
I mean,
because I think someone can make a good living working.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's a bad job, but I'm saying they are doing what we call survival jobs in fields that it's not in their field. This is something that not looking for what to do, but they are doing for it because they want to, as you mentioned, to have opportunities for their children.
Yeah, that's a real driving force.
Right.
I noticed that all three of you, it's more of a question, have all three of you experienced coming in from another country?
Yes, myself, yes.
Yeah, so you weren't?
Myself, yes.
Maryse?
Yeah, I came as a child with my parents and my younger brother.
Oh, so you came as a young child?
Yeah.
How did you find it? Because that's interesting. Again, I'm a school board trustee here too, and a teacher, and I know that up in Sudbury we don't have quite as large a population of international students.
When I came as a child, we were in the Toronto area. I've only been in Northern Ontario for about close to 10 years now. So I was in the large metropolis down south with my family for many years before I moved up here.
So what's it like coming into a new country do you even notice?
Well, the school I went to was multicultural too, so.
They're all in Toronto, aren't they?
Right, and then, when I was in high school, I went to high school in Brampton, so a lot of East Indians there, and, so I didn't really feel a big difference, really, so, yeah, for me, I didn't, in terms of coming into Canadian culture, like, English was the language I spoke at home anyway, so I didn't find too much of a big transition. I think it helps because I was younger than coming as an adult. That's
interesting, and I don't want to go off the topic because we're talking about the internationally trained professionals, not their kids, but the idea of having a community, a cultural community within a school, that's important, I guess, for young kids, isn't it? Like you were saying in Brampton, there were a lot of
that was just the demographics.
So you felt almost at home.
Yeah, pretty much.
But is that important? Like how important is that? To have that cultural mix, because I know down in Toronto experiments with everything. Like if there's something new, Toronto's going to try it. I mean, they've tried to have single cultural schools, what they call the black ethnic, and there's been a lot of criticism of this. But then when you look at Toronto, how some of the communities, some of the areas in Toronto are pockets of people that have a common culture. I personally don't see that that's a problem in terms of going to school where there's a common culture among a lot of, you know, a significant number of the students. I basically say up here in Sudbury, our culture is English or French, so we do have a common culture in our schools. But how difficult was it for your parents to help you develop, or did they do anything special to help you develop as a Canadian? I don't know if I'm asking the right question here, but I'm just really curious because
what it was like when I was a kid.
It's got to be tough. I've never been outside of Canada or the United States, and to think of having to go to another country to start all over again, it's got to be scary for an adult. It's got to be really troublesome for a young person, because schools are not the friendliest places for kids.
Right. Yeah.
To begin with.
Well, I must say, I guess this is like off topic too now.
Oh, yeah,
because we're talking about
but
international training.
But it does have an effect on the professionals, because if you're going to ask them to move, and now they've got to take a look at their children and say, well, our children have a cultural mix here in Toronto. It's not what I wanted as a professional, but if I go to Sudbury, I'm taking them away from that cultural mix. Am I losing anything for my children? I think, while it's off topic, it may be something that may be a barrier for people to move. So I don't know. I don't want to put you on the spot here, but you've lived through it, and it's
Well, like in my family situation, it was a bit tricky because my parents are like cultural people, like to a certain degree. Yet we spoke English at home, and they're like staunch like Catholics too. So whenever like my friends, like whether they were you know my culture or Canadian culture, if I tried to assimilate, it was kind of tricky because my parents kind of like held me like, oh, we don't do that, So it was tricky even in Southern Ontario, right? So I'm sure it'd be the same for children who immigrate here, wherever too. There's that mix between the cultures, between like the culture that your parents come from, and then you're trying to assimilate to Canadian culture, and then you're stuck in between.
Interesting. Any thoughts? I don't even know if it's ever come up much, but to me as a parent, relocating the decision about how my children were going to adjust would be definitely. I'd drive a cab the rest of my life if I thought my children were not going to experience what I wanted them to have.
Here at Sudbury, we're very fortunate with Laurentian University, Laurentian International Student Program. Collège Royal, a French college that attracts so many, we'll say French Africans. You can look at it in two ways. If you have a family that goes to a metropolitan city, so you have Portuguese town, Chinatown, and things like that. So the father of the family, the caretaker can't find a job in his field or has problems, but they have that sense of community, right? Whereas if you have the opportunity in Sudbury, where we don't necessarily have a Chinatown, downtown Sudbury or things like that, but we do have different associations within our post-secondary educations or the multicultural association.
They all
and things that we still have, and we're still a very welcoming community. So there are two sides to that medal.
Yeah, like I haven't seen anything in Sudbury that says that Sudbury would not be welcoming to diverse cultures. Well, what I do see though is exactly what you're saying, is that if you want that comfort zone of saying, well, there is a place where I can actually live, or I can go where this is my culture. Whereas up here in Sudbury, it might be, well, we meet once a month with other people with the same nationality, but you don't have that like you almost feel like you have to assimilate into the culture. You almost have to give up your former culture. And I don't know whether that's good or bad. If you're going to live in Canada, maybe the parents have to understand that that's part of why you moved here. But
we won't say maybe assimilate their culture, but try to bring it to the community is not necessarily an easy task.
Add to it, or at the same time trying to find meaningful employment.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Well, basically, most of the families, once they decided to move from their country, they sacrificed a lot.
Big
right?
decision, eh?
Big decision. And then when they landed in, for example, GTA, if it is Toronto or Mississauga or Brampton, there's like high percentage of population, immigrant population there. Yeah, they feel more comfortable living there because their, I think, food is there, their worships is there, their community is there. They can start their networks. Their kids, if they go to any of the schools,
Yeah.
they will find someone who speaks their language, someone
Yeah.
from their community. So that's make the settlement process at the beginning more easier, right, for the family and for the kids, because for the parents, they are ready to struggle once they
Right.
decided to come here.
Yeah.
They are ready to struggle, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they don't want their kids to struggle, right? So that's why they prefer to stay in where their community are at the beginning, at least.
Yeah, and then you get into trying to find work in the profession that you were trained in, and that's a whole other problem. Is it more difficult than it was in the past for internationally trained professionals to come to Canada, or is it about the same? Because again, you hear all kinds of stories about the immigration policies and the horror stories and the nightmares. Like, are there more people? Is it easier to come into the country? Is it more difficult? I know this isn't your department, but are you seeing more people coming looking for your services than you did in the past, or?
We will still see the same trend of clients who are approaching us for services, and those who are coming to Toronto or to Canada, and in general, the point system is maybe they changed a little bit the point system, but still they could come to Canada, and they are coming. So yeah, this is kind of programs and services that the government wants to keep, to those professionals to go back and restart their life here in Canada.
Because we do need immigrants. We do
Yeah.
need people to come in.
Well, the statistic Canada predicted that by 2020, 100% of the population growth will be coming from immigration.
2020.
By 2020, 100% of population growth is coming from immigration.
Wow.
And by 2025, Canada will face 1.2 million shortage of labor force. So where they supplement the shortage of labor force, it comes from another source, which is immigration.
So really, what you're doing then is you're helping make the country look a little bit. You're doing an awful lot of marketing then for the country,
Mm-hmm.
because if all they get back in their former countries are stories about how hard it is to find jobs over here, then it's going to be more difficult for us to attract internationally trained professionals.
There's a few facets to that story. We'll take for example a family man. It could be a doctor from Burkina Faso, a small country in Africa, who has a beautiful mansion with a gardener, a chauffeur, a few maids, the educators for the children and all that, and decide to come to Canada. And things are working out.
That's going to be a culture shock.
There's one huge culture shock right there. And it could work and it could not work. But if he decides to go back to this country, I've heard a few stories that he's not going to be talking, gloating about his struggles and he has a strong sense of pride.
Oh, yeah.
He'll just say that he made a lot of money in Canada, and that's where the story ends. So when we talk about cultural competencies or what is it? I say it in French because I work as a francophone outreach officer as well. But cultural sensitization, I think it's. We need to let our newcomers or internationally trained professionals know about this, and our employers and our communities, and especially our establishment agencies, the ones that are welcoming agencies. These are the frontline soldiers that welcome these people with a smile and with all the help they need in regards to finding rent and going to school and putting the kids in school and things like that. And we're Professions North, we play a role in that, but it's mostly economic. It's finding employment, making sure that Professions North, we offer online courses that are free, which I get feedback all the time. And I had a client this morning that came in and she's like, this course is so valuable. I learned so much from this course. It's the ICCW, the Intercultural Communication in the Canadian Workplace course. And we have it in both languages, in English and in French, and it's interactive. They do it at their pace. You know, they're not obligated. So as soon as you let go that sense of, you know, a child going to school and being obligated to do this and this, they're like, yeah, I'll wait till the last minute. Once they start the course, the videos, and it's very interactive, and so that's our main field of expertise. It's the economic integration.
Well, that's good. Obviously the online in English and French, do you have to translate it into a lot of other languages, or is that?
Well, it started off in 2010 in English. We got it in French in 2011. Not yet.
And I guess most people must be coming here with the intent of learning one of the two official languages.
I was to say, it's the aim of this international communication course is to help them improve their communication either in the one of the two official languages in Canada. And
they've made that decision when they leave. It is a tough decision, I guess, to leave a country.
It's huge.
Especially if you don't have to leave. I do imagine some people have to. But
yeah, every family is a unique case, I could say, and everyone has their own reasons to move to another country.
Yeah, like for
so
me,
we don't have the same reasons.
Yeah, it would be tough for me to decide to move away from Sudbury to work, just to Kitchener, to Windsor. Like,
well, as soon as they made that decision, you know that they have an open mind, that they're. I'm not going to go to the point of saying free-spirited, but I'll say open mind and willing to accept change and to absorb a bit of culture. They're a sponge.
And it's obvious from the data that you've got that we have a real need for trained professionals to come into this country. So is there much of a pushback or a barrier from the people living in Canada thinking that internationally trained professionals are taking jobs away from Canadians, even though obviously the data shows that we're not going to be able to fill our needs? That must be, again, part of the education process, letting people understand that there's no threat to people coming in from other countries. Is that a...
Well, in here, in Sudbury and even in the northern communities, we're promoting it that if you can't fulfill your needs here, then we can assist you with that, with tapping into the different databases in the other areas in southern Ontario.
I'm thinking a lot of the employees, as opposed to the employers, though, may think that people are coming and taking jobs that their own kids can't do.
Well, we know what hit the media was maybe a month ago with RBC and a lot of people. I think these are just misconceptions. A lot of people are, and I've seen it everywhere. I've seen it in newspapers and social media like Facebook and things like that, where people are like, why should we hire immigrants or these newcomers when us Canadians? In reality, if we really looked at, and I'm being very honest and frank here, when we're looking at education, when we look at our, and I don't want to say that Canadians aren't the smartest cookies in the world, but when we compare, when we really do the comparison of the education that our ITPs have, wow, and then you compare it to Canadians, I can't say it's.
And we're putting the barriers up. We're not giving them accreditation.
Well, it's a lengthy process. It's not done overnight. It's not free either.
Plus, our young people aren't getting trained in these areas,
no.
Are they? They're not going into a lot of these fields.
Just the concept of customer service, where in certain parts of the world they take so much pride in customer service, and where maybe in Canada, I don't know if you've noticed, but I have, that it's not the same as what it was 20 years ago. So
Yeah, well, it's, I don't disagree with you on that.
Mhm.
It's, and you don't have to go look at people coming from other countries to see the comparison. It's city to city, there's differences.
Mhm.
What's, we've got about 10 minutes left. What's the, I guess, what's on the horizon here? What are some of your main things that you wanted to focus on?
We've got Maryse, if you want to talk about maybe.
Well, we have the speed networking event happening again soon, next month, June 5th.
Okay.
So we're promoting that to all the Northern Ontario employers at the moment.
Where is that going to be?
That's going to be in Toronto.
In Toronto, okay.
So it's linking the Northern Ontario employers with the candidates in Toronto. So
Okay.
anyone that's interested can contact us. We have our website, www.professionsnorth.ca, and we have our phone number as well too, 1-866-210-3020. So you could call us too if you're an employer looking to hire.
Okay. And we're gonna put this on a website called the Learning Clinic, so I'll make sure that we put the phone number and website address on it. But, okay, so that's
So that's a great
big.
opportunity for Northern Ontario employers to take part in.
Mhm.
And then I could speak for employers in general, like there are other benefits to becoming an employer, linking with us for employers. We do have job matching, so outside of speed networking, we also can match employers with candidates as well too.
So you really are like an employment agency almost.
Pretty much, yeah.
Well,
You
it's
do a lot of-
consultation work. We collaborate
more.
with all the with
You
the
do more than what an employment
Yes.
agency do, but it's kind of part of what you.
Yeah, since 2010 we've been working with the clients, and right now we have a good database of clients who are Jeopardy, and you have different, a wide range of skills and professions. So now we are focusing on connecting them with employers in Northern Ontario.
That's good.
The employers can also work as a mentor as well too. It's just for 4 months. They could give something back to an
Okay.
internationally trained professional if they're interested in mentoring one of them as well too.
Which is a good program.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's excellent.
Yeah, it's a great way to get started, having a relationship with an ITP as well too.
Is your program, of course, what a question this is. Is your program got a long life ahead of, like, is there guaranteed funding for any length of time, or are you like any other political entity? It's, you hope every year you're gonna get the same funding, or, because this is a long-term project.
It is. We started in 2010. Got our financing from the Ministry of Civic Affairs.
So take it baby steps, you're only 3 years old.
So we're still babies, technically. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed, legs crossed, arms crossed, and I'll start doing grades if need be. But we hope, like any other nonprofit or funded program, it all depends on the ministry. And it depends on results, and it depends on the outcomes.
So Atef, I guess a lot of what you do is convincing the people who are making the decisions that it's worth continuing.
So recently we have funding until July, and we are qualified to apply for renewal application for 3 years. And the feedback we are getting from the ministry, they are pleased with what we are doing as a bridging program with our results. So we cross our fingers, and that we'll be getting fund for the next 3 years.
Well, we cross our fingers and work really hard in obtaining these results, which are matches, which we just want to see newcomers finding, or internationally trained professionals finding employment in their relevant fields.
And I've looked at your team, though. I mean, you've developed such a network that, and this is almost one of those programs that you can't all of a sudden just stop.
Everyone's so dedicated, and the partnerships that we've built in the last 3 years are so valuable, and these partners are so engaged that we truly believe in what we're doing is bringing change.
Yeah, we spread. We have one of our colleagues is working in Toronto, in the GTA area, and we have outreach officers in the 5 cities in the north, and our headquarters in Sudbury, and we have partnerships, I can say, like in Ottawa and Toronto, over. So it's, the number of stakeholders and the partners in this project is quite wide, and yeah.
What role does Laurentian University have in this? Any? In this program? Like, are you employees of Laurentian University?
We are employees of Laurentian
So you were the
University. We are reporting for the Dean of the Faculty of Management. We are
So you're kind of
part of Laurentian. We are
seconded, or you've been loaned to this program, or is
No,
this?
this program started and it is managed by Laurentian University, by
Okay.
Faculty of Management.
Okay. So there is at least there is a connection to a long-term institution.
Right,
Mhm.
right.
So, well, it sounds as if they're gonna continue it.
I think one thing we should mention is one of our key partners, which is Skills International. Maryse, I don't know, Maryse, she knows a lot about Skills International.
Well, Skills International is a website that we are promoting to employers, but employees or ITPs can sign up for it as well too. And it's a great matching site, so ITPs can go up in there and put their resumes in hopes of finding employment. The thing with Skills International is not just Northern Ontario, it's nationally within Canada. So employers can go there and sign up as well too, and they can scan the database and see what sort of candidates are available for jobs that they may have.
And your office is downtown in Sudbury?
Yes, in downtown, right.
Is there a need for people to go to your office, or is that just where you guys work out of?
Everything's
That's more of a
mostly-
head office, but frontline staff at the YMCA, there's you can come in and I'm based out of the YMCA as the employer outreach. And as well as the person that does the intake for us is also based out of the YMCA because she's a YMCA employee.
Okay, so there's a real integration,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
and of course, being downtown that's where most,
That's where all the action
everything
is.
is located there, I guess.
Right, to be close to other community organization, yeah.
Have we missed anything? We've got a few minutes left before we hit 3 o'clock, but is there anything that we didn't touch on that you wanted to make sure that we covered?
Maybe about the
What is
other
it?
courses that we offer online. So we've mentioned the intercultural communication in the Canadian workplace course, which is online. It's about 20-25 hours. They do it at their own pace, in French or in English. We also have the portfolio development course. So it's nice nowadays, if you're called for an interview, you don't really need to bring your resume. They already have your resume. They've already seen it. That's why they called you. Show up with a portfolio, with concrete examples of your reports, different analysis, things like that. Pictures say a million words, so I mean, those fall into your portfolio. Signposts. Signpost, Maryse, maybe you can elaborate more on signposts. Or signpost is a tool, an online tool that it's an auto evaluation, and at the same time they get to really get to know their strongest skills.
Career assessment, or?
A bit
Skill
of
assessment,
aptitude
okay.
and aptitude as well. Signpost, because that's one of the things that we notice. A lot of our newcomers don't know how to promote themselves.
Right.
So we're talking about elevator pitch and things like that. But it goes a lot. They really need to find out what their strongest skills are. And I always tell this to an ITP over the telephone, because I talk to them. Most of them are in Toronto, but in Sudbury as well. Think of the HR, the human resource manager that has over 2,000, a pile of 2,000 resumes. You have to have the wow factor at the beginning of the resume, not at the end and not in the middle, because they don't spend more than a minute per resume. They don't have time. So the professional profile that we encourage and that's what Professions North also on. We work with our newcomers with their resumes and things like that. So you put your strongest skills at the beginning, your professional profile. Don't make it too long, keep it short. And so we've got that. I'm trying to think of the other courses that we offer online. ICCW.
Yeah, ICCW portfolio development and the signpost
Mm-hmm.
Are these all free, or? Are
Yeah,
they-
these are all free of
for
charge.
PNN clients.
So people register with you?
Yeah.
People register, yeah, they
So-
can go online and register.
So an ITP, would they register with Professions North as a client?
That's right.
Okay.
Well,
And-
basically they can go online on our website and fill up the application form there, the registration form. And once we receive the registration, we do review the registration form and we start working with them one-on-one.
Okay.
And this is one of the courses we offer for them as part of our services.
Good. No, it's like an online university almost. It's
And this course is like the portfolio is administered by Laurentian University, and the communication course and signpost is administered by Maryse University. And upon completion these courses, the clients receive a completion certificate from one of these universities. So they can add it to their professional portfolio as well.
all helps. Yeah, it all helps.
Very nice certificate, yeah.
Yeah.
It's nicer than my college diploma.
Yeah. That's important. That's marketing. You want to stand out. That's great. I'm looking forward, like I say, in the future, if something comes up with this new initiative, especially when you get your funding for another 3 years, give me an email and we'll come back on and we'll do another, showing this. One of the things that I'm going to do is post this radio show, because we taped it as a video, so people can watch it or listen to it, but we will post it on thelearningclinic.ca. It's thelearningclinic.ca, and in the radio section, so that people can access it, and if they want to listen to part of it, if there's certain things they want to listen to, but I'll put your phone number and your email address or your website,
in the website
for sure on it, and no, I think it's those statistics are alarming though. To use your word, I mean, by 2010, our growth is going to be entirely from outside the country. That's
2020, right?
2020. I mean, that's amazing.
For the employers that are worried right now, if they go on our website, we have an employer's guide that's really helpful, from recruiting an ITP to checking references to just integrating it. Just have to mention that at the last.
Yeah, no, that's great.
It's a very useful tool.
Yeah, we have to
The employer's guide.
wrap it up anyway, but a wide range of ages for people coming to you to get some help from your organization, like young, old. So it's a good mix.
Yeah, there's a range, right? Like from young to.
I would imagine that if you're a professional in another country, to make a decision to come over, you've probably been a professional for a while. You've established yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you've got to have a little bit of money to come over. You've got to have some savings. But I imagine there's a myth that Canadians have that
they
all
just
these
come to
immigrants are
Canada for
coming in, they're all
free
rich,
and
and they all have all kinds of money. I imagine that's not the case.
That's not the case.
It's it sounds like it's a great organization. I say I hope it continues for a long time. So Atef Shubita, the acting project manager, Maryse Thamby, who is the employment outreach officer for Sudbury, and Joël Gauthier, who is the economic development officer with Professions North here in Sudbury. So I want to thank you for listening to the Learning Clinic. I'm your host, Robert Kirwan, and we'll see you again next Monday.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you, everyone.